So, hello again. This is part two of the PD. And now we stopped at the content differentiation. Now, content differentiation depends or should be based on three elements: student interest, personal learning profile, and students' readiness to learn. Students' interests, they are their hobbies, whatever they like or prefer. Their so definitely their hobbies, their certain areas where they like to work with, such as if they have like how do you call it? If they are very experienced and let's say they are very fond of gaming. So there you go. Something they really like to do most of the time, and you can use this to your benefit to explain the lesson much better. And also the personal learning profile. So the learning profile of the student it depends on different elements such as the gender and the culture background and also the learning style. And at the very end, your student's readiness to learn. So if the student had a very tough time in the previous class and then it's your class, you come into the class, you expect the student to just forget everything and just focus with you. That's not going to happen. He's still, it's compelling to think about what happened, whatever problem happened in the previous class. You have to make sure the student is ready to learn. So you don't want to teach this lesson today, maybe another day. You just make sure the student is absolutely ready to learn. Okay. And now, application of content differentiation. I'm going to show you this list of how can you apply content differentiation in your lessons. So matching vocabulary words to definitions. So that's simple as if you think about Bloom's taxonomy, that's a lower order thinking, still at the very bottom of the scale. Now, reading a passage of text and answer related questions, thinking of a situation that happened to a character in the story, but then assume a different outcome or think of a different outcome. What if? So you can see if you have this task and compare it with matching vocabulary to the definitions, you think this one is more complex, right? And then differentiating fact from opinions in a story, and then identifying an author's position and provide evidence to support the viewpoint. So this is advanced and more advanced. And at the end, creating a PowerPoint presentation. So you have match, read, differentiate, identify, and create. Well, they go from, again, lower order thinking to high order thinking in Bloom's taxonomy. Okay, now the second part. So we talked about content, which is the input, and now process. Again, content is the material. Now the process. The process is when the student makes sense of the content. So it's when the learning or when the student is owning the content. Okay, so it's sense making, another word to describe process. Now, this is really fun. So it's the learning styles. You have auditory, visual, kinesthetic, read and write. So every single student has their own learning style. It happens sometimes a group of students share the same learning style, but they could have different levels. So above average student can be visual and a lower average student, average in terms of grade level, could be visual as well. So they can share the same learning style. Now at this, I would like to ask you to pause maybe this video when I will upload it later on and go to a website. There's a questionnaire called VAR questionnaire. So I shared this with my colleagues when I presented this PD. So the VAR questionnaire, it can tell you about your learning style. Okay, so it's really fun. And for example, I didn't know, but I was thinking like my learning style is read and write, but apparently my learning style is more of auditory and kinesthetics, like a mixture between two. So, application of process strategy. You can provide textbook to visuals and word learners. So you go back, visuals and word learners. So that's like both visual and read and write. You can provide them textbook to read from, and you can allow auditory learners to listen to audiobooks. So again, it goes with how do the students own it according to their learning style. Also, you can give kinesthetic learners the opportunity to complete an interactive assignment online, such as I'm thinking about Kahoot, I'm thinking about interactive boards such as, Jamboard. If you apply it, if you prepare it beforehand, again, proactive learning, proactive teaching. Also, I'm thinking about ClassKick. ClassKick can be really fun. It's not only uploading PDF to the Canva. No, you can create your own interactive worksheets and lessons. And now I'm going to share with you some examples. So this is our story. I taught the story this term, Lunch Money, in grade 5. So some students would learn in different ways. Again, learning style. So this student says, working together in a group helped me understand. So it's like talkative students, they social learners, they will just talk to other students, and with this, they learn the most. Another, I prefer to read the assignment quietly. So give me my own space. I'll just go sit quietly and read it. No, they are not antisocial. They're not quote unquote lazy. No, they like discussions. Okay. You will later on encourage them to join open class discussions, but the way they own their learning in the process stage, they want to do it on their own. Okay, and then you have listening to audiobooks really helps me to remember. There you go. And then I like the online interactive task best, which is kinesthetic learners. Another variant, giving an oral book report is easier for me. So it's, I think it's read and write type of learners, maybe. So this is an example of my lesson. So I have a package for Mrs. Jules. Again, this is one of the lessons in grade 5. So I decided to record the story and post it to, well, everybody in the class, but then it's really going to work well with auditory learners. And at the same time, okay, so this, okay, so you can tell it's like theatrical reading. Like at one point, the character is trying to knock the door really hard, and I had to knock on my microphones just to make the students feel the event of the story. And well, let me go. Yeah. So now this is another example, literature lesson as well. But the students here are in group 1, are on their own Jamboard. They have a question. So there are 2 scripts, a part of the literature lesson and analyzing character qualities. And you can tell they had a blast. All their ideas, and some of them they highlighted, underlined important things. And so you could tell social learners all together learning in a group. Other students, they will just plug in and listen to me reading the story. And they can get the same amount of, well, information and interaction. When you have an open class discussion, you will feel everybody is learning at the same pace, but different style. Let me go here. Okay, there you go. So we have a spelling phonic lesson, and on the right side, the white sheet. This is taken from the workbook, and it's just a simple classification. So 3 heading, and then they have to categorize the spelling words. On the other hand, I went to Google Drawing, and I did this. So I have long E sound and long A sound. Now, one of the specialists, actually, she shared this tip with me. So I should have highlights a and e in the word awake. And then I should highlight e and a in feast to make sure that the student, well, The words should not be that all of them, they are all colorful. I should have paid attention to this. I have to highlight or color the sound more than the word itself. So there you go. When you share these things with educators, you will learn eventually. You will add knowledge, and you will, I would say, improve your teaching methods. And I got this as I was sharing with them, and she suggested that. So that's really good. But again, you can tell two different styles. I think this one is much more visual, with the C and categorizing. It's much more visual. Yeah. Another example, yes, again, Jamboard, but then here, oh, this is vocabulary lesson. So I have students on the right side again. It's Seesaw. You create your own vocab list. So I give them the vocab list. They have their choice to choose 4 of those vocab. In this case, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 4 vocab. They can choose more, but it's their choice, whatever word they choose. And then I help them by categorizing the activity. Yeah. So I have vocabulary, definition, and then sentence. I also provided them with an online dictionary. So it's like I give it all to you and you just use it and complete the activity. On the other hand, another group, which is above average, I noticed most of them. So they had to learn everything on their own in their own group, and they have to write a story using the newly learned vocabulary. So again, I gave them the vocab list, no definitions, no meanings, no synonyms and antonyms, nothing at all. They have to go to the online dictionary. Now, this online dictionary, it's also provided. I suggested one. But they have the choice whether the other group is just one dictionary. They have to just go to that website. So the other group, they had their time to think of the vocabulary, have the to make a story out of the target vocabulary. So you can tell they did a lot of work. Again, different learning styles. And the final part, well, the third element of differentiated instruction is the product. Now, the product, again, the process, I'm owning my material, I'm owning the learning. And now, product, how am I owning the material? How am I owning my learning? So, how it is done. Oh, this is the wrong photo. But let's just go and talk about the product. So the product, think about it as the students is showing you their project, explaining how did they learn it. So analyzing, creating. So again, go back to the Bloom's taxonomy, the final stages, analyzing, creating. Yes, so there you go. If you go back to the story, Lunch Money, the student said, I built a diorama to illustrate the story. So he owned his learning, and now he wants to show how did he own the learning. So some applications could be read and write learners can write a book report, and this is done in C. So I did it, and it's really awesome. Visual learners can create a graphic organizer of the story. So you don't provide them with a graphic organizer, much rather they create their own. And auditory learners give an oral report, and then kinesthetic learners build, there you go, a diorama illustrating the story. Now, you have to keep in mind that products or the product stage should be really have like real connection to real world connections. It should be really interesting. Why? Because this stage, it is time consuming. It is, and it takes a lot of time. So it's time consuming. It takes a lot of efforts because they want to show you the learning. They want to explain how they did it. So it has to support different expressions as well and diversity resource methods. The last stage, it's learning environment. So let me go and just share this with you. So learning environment has 2 parts, the physical environment and the psychological. Physical environment, definitely it's flexible classroom layout. So one educator shared with me that a flexible classroom, so I suggested, well, it's a different seating plan. And she said, no, maybe you don't have chairs. Maybe you create a very relaxing classroom layout where just take out the chairs and put some cushions, and the student is relaxed and is really ready to learn. And then psychological, well, depends on your class management uh, techniques. So you make sure the student is ready, and you manage well, the class environment and things like this. And well, I guess that's it. These are basically the four stages. Again, it's content, content, process, product, and learning environment. At the very end, I want to share with you the cons and the pros and cons of differentiated instructions. Definitely time consuming. Yes, it is. You have to design your lessons beforehand. You have to think and assume some learning difficulties and learning. You will assume your learners' obstacles before, and also think of a solution for each of those obstacles before teaching the lesson. So that's time consuming. Also, you need to have professional development resources. So you need to constantly, the school or the organization where you work at, they need to improve and follow up with you. But I don't think of it as cons, actually. I know it's time consuming, but think of this on the long run. Yeah. So it's a long, I think about it as a long-term successful techniques. It will take time. Like when I started using breakout classrooms, Google breakout classrooms, it took me 3 weeks to make sure one of my classes, they were really stubborn. It took me 3 weeks to make sure they are ready and they are using breakout classrooms correctly. Because the moment I leave the class, they will turn off the camera, turn off the mic, and just do nothing. Even though when they join the main room, they're active and bubbly and share their ideas and discuss and everything, but they wouldn't do it on their own. They just need me to be there to babysit them. So it took time, 3 weeks. We're talking about 3 weeks. So let's go to the pros. So very effective for SEND. I cannot say more than this. It's very effective for special students, okay? And also above level students, because sometimes they're really having it like it's unfair for them to be on the mainstream class, and they don't feel challenged. They don't feel, they need to feel challenged. And the products stage, gosh, you can only feel the above level students just excelling, showing you how they did it and analyzing and everything. Also, it promotes responsibility. So the student is responsible for his own learning pace, because at the end, he feels he's the one doing everything. Yes, you are aiding, you're guiding them, but he feels he's doing everything. So he's more responsible. And at the very end, high engagement level. So you have the content stage, everybody's learning, you try to match your material to their learning style, to their interest. And then you have the process stage. Well, they know how to do it. They go about different things. And then the product they show you or show other team members of the groups, other students, how they do it. So it's engagement, high engagement level. Okay, then that's it. This was my PD about differentiated instructions. I had so much fun. Oh, one thing I want to share with you. We're here. Tomlinson, read for her. She is a leader in this field. She is the mother of differentiated instructions. Just like go search on YouTube, watch her videos. And also one resource I want to share with you is Resilient Educator website. So if you go to Resilient Educator, just type differentiated instructions, resilient educator. And you'll find everything you ask for. Okay, then, that was for today, and thank you so much. I think I'm still live and I have to end this. Yes, I'm going to end the stream.